Hello everyone, my name is Tara and welcome to Aligning to Love. In this channel I aim to spread hope, joy, peace, and love to the world by sharing goodness and love within my life. It was my intention that I was going to film all of the previous memories that I've had from November 2025 all the way to July 2026, but without doing any present videos in between. But tonight is such an important milestone for me in two different ways. The first one being it's a significant day because it's my brother's birthday. And my brother's birthday has always been so impactful for me. It's the reason that I love my brother's birthday is that his birthdays are always the ones that I can remember very vividly because there's a 5.5 year age difference between us. And so when I always think about my birthdays, I have a really good memory and I have pretty vivid memories of even in elementary school. But the younger I get with the birthdays from like 6 and under, they can get kind of fuzzy. But with my brother, they're crystal clear still for me. And that's why his birthdays are so meaningful because they just hold that much more love for me. And my brother was turning 33 tonight, and I just remember when I was 8, because I'm 38 right now, and I remember when I was 8 and my brother was turning 3. And it's just mind-boggling for me to think that 30 years have gone by and now he's 33 and I'm 38. And I was just filled with so much love tonight because not only do I have my brother who is very close to me and he's so much like, he's just another one of my best friends, but we're also very lucky because both of my parents are with us and we get to see them on a regular basis, and they're healthy, they're active, and their personalities are still very much like they were when we were growing up. And every day I count my blessings that I was able to have parents that were able to be throughout my life, even at 38, because I know a lot of my friends and peers that I graduated with have already lost some of their parents. And my heart goes out to them, and my heart goes out to anyone who has lost parents at a young age. And I'm just so thankful for mine. And I'm so thankful for the family unit that I was adopted into and that I've been able to grow up with. And so tonight was just so special. We had my brother's favorite meal, which is veal parmesan, and then we had an ice cream cake. Every birthday, he's always asked for an ice cream cake, which makes sense for the month of July. The month of August. And I always just feel so excited for his birthday, and it's even more special that now my parents and my brother get to share that excitement with my daughter, which adds a whole nother dynamic to the family relationships. And watching my brother interact with her and sharing cake and wearing the goofy birthday cone hats and having balloon fights with her, it just made my heart overflow. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the video tonight. Another reason why I wanted to do this video is because it's the anniversary of the last night that my husband and my daughter and I were in the apartment. We were supposed to be in the apartment the last day of July, but for other circumstances, they wanted us to spend one more night. And so we were actually in it the night of August 1st, and we moved back in with my parents on August 2nd of 2025, and that's when we had a massive birthday party for my brother. And even our friend Joseph, who's like a second brother, my brother's best friend came, and his sister came, and that was just such a wild and special surprise because none of us knew that they were going to be there. And it definitely made my brother's birthday that year. But for me, thinking about where I was in the month of July last year to compare it to this year in 2026, it's like two completely different versions of myself, but also just emotional um I don't not emotional maturity, but like processing, I guess, because I we were just under so much stress the month of July. I I was it was under so much stress, but it was also such a valuable time span of my life because I had just finished my school year. And so I had that whole month to just dedicate having quality time with my daughter, who was 17 months at the time. And I had felt so guilty going back and teaching that year when she was, I think she was 6 months when I went back to school. And I know that there's so many families out there that have to go back to work when their babies are newborns. And I have so much compassion, and I send so much love because I I waited so long. Well, I didn't intentionally wait, but I had to wait so long to be a mom, and that also gave me the flexibility to really be intentional with how I planned when I wanted to go back to work, but also to make sure that I didn't miss the newborn and the baby milestones that I really wanted to be present for. And I count my blessings every day that I was able to be able to do that and had the opportunity and the privilege to do that. And I feel like that should be a right for all parents. I know there's other countries that give both parents a year off before they go back to work because they understand how significant that developmental year is for children and the emotional impact and growth that they have when they have that quality time with parents. And I just hope that in the future the US will take that stance as well. Anyway, that was a tangent, but I do feel like it's an important one, and I feel like all families that choose to have children deserve that time to be with their children and to have those bonds and to make those relationships grow. Um and so the month of July, I was so thankful to have that dedicated time with my daughter. And there was no other obligate. Well, there were other obligations because we were in the middle of trying to move, but I didn't have to work at a job in an office or the 8 to 5 hours. And but I also was alone that whole month because my husband had just accepted a job where we were going to move. And I said in other videos, he didn't always get the weekends off, and he didn't always get 2 days in a row off. So it'd be a random Monday, a random Thursday that he would be able to have off. And so he was commuting back and forth from Middlebury to White River Junction quite a lot when he could throughout the month of July. And so it really gave me the experience of being a single parent for that month. And I had always been inspired, and I had always admired all families who raise and take care of children, but especially the people who were raising kids or a child by themselves, whether they were single father, single mother, foster parents, and grandparents, however the dynamic was. I always had compassion and empathy for them, but I never quite understood just how much endurance and resilience and patience it took to be able to continue that modality of being the only caregiver and provider. I remember being so exhausted that when she would go down for naps, I would nap too because I wouldn't have any energy left once she was up if I didn't. And just the simple things of like going to the grocery store. I learned that I needed to park right next to the section where you would drop off your cart, because one time I didn't think about parking close by, and I was at the other end of the building, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just put my daughter in the car seat. I'm going to have to close the door, walk all the way around to the other side of the building, drop the cart off. Luckily, one of my past students and their parents were coming right up behind me, and they needed a cart. So in that learning experience, I ended up being able to give it to them. But it definitely was what's the word I'm trying to think of? It was the launch of reminding me, like, you need to park near the carts because you don't have anyone else to ask to bring it over there, like I used to do with my husband when he would be with us and we'd be grocery shopping. It was also really stressful for me because we were on a third floor apartment, and our apartment building for some reason didn't have an elevator. And so lugging our groceries and our stroller and my daughter, I would always feel so guilty because I'd have to leave her in the car, take the groceries up, or vice versa. I'd have to take her up, put her in the playpen, and then run back and try to lug all the groceries up, get the stroller, and get the baby bag. And I mean, there was just so many more hurdles and challenges in the day that I'd have to problem solve in a way that when my husband was home and when we were in the same apartment living together, I didn't have to think about those things. But it always gave me so much more empathy and compassion and understanding for everything that people who are raising kids by themselves have to do. And I just applaud anyone in that scenario because you really, until you're in it, you really don't understand even the smallest of details that change your life and how you have to coordinate and how you have to organize yourself for your children. And so I just I just send so much love out to people who are in that scenario. And I know that you would not have it any other way. Same with me. I wouldn't have changed that month for anything because I got all of that quality time with my daughter, and I grew as a person, as a mother, and as a human being, having those experiences of learning so much in that small amount of time. And I was only in that situation for a month, and to think about people who are in that situation long term their entire lives, it really is inspiring. And so that's another thing that I just remember in the month of July. And I know that because I was wanting to spend so much time being present with my daughter and really just cherishing the last memories that we had in that apartment when she was that young, I didn't do as much packing and I didn't do as much decluttering as I wanted to before the move. And it all worked out because I did all of that after the move. It was a lot more work than I feel like it could have been, but at the same time, that's when my husband and I were living together, so it made it so much easier. But it was just that time span was just so memorable in so many ways. And I remember the last night that we were in the apartment, my husband was able to come home, and we went out to one of our favorite restaurants in town. It was called the Time Restaurant. And my daughter and I and my husband, we all had some of our favorite meals, and we were just able to soak up the last time being at that restaurant for a while. Well, I haven't been there since, so it's been a year, and it was just a really peaceful, relaxing part of the night because the rest of that night, when we went back, we got our daughter ready for her bedtime routine. We got her down to sleep, and then my husband and I were just mad dashing, trying to pack up the last pieces of furniture, getting them loaded in his car, the last just organization of clothes, of items, of everything. And my husband was able to help me try to fill in any cracks or anything with the putty, and touch ups on paint so that we could pass inspection the next day before we moved out. It was just a very chaotic night after that peaceful dinner. And then I remember once he went to bed, it was like 11 or 12. And I just had the intention of wanting to do my YouTube videos of the last time we were in that apartment. And I stayed up till like 3 in the morning going through the whole month of July and the memories that I had. And I am so glad I did, but I remember like getting sick during that night because my nose was starting to sniffle. I was sneezing. Like I knew that if I didn't get sleep, I was going to be sick much longer than I needed to be. And so luckily I was able to get all of my weeks of July completed in that apartment. And then I went to bed for like 2 or 3 hours. And then we were up at like 5 or 6. And because we had other people like carpenters and inspectors and other obligations with our Vermont landlord that we had to do before we even moved out. And it was just such a chaotic and crazy span of 24 hours. But looking back at it, I'm just so I wouldn't change anything because it was so rewarding to be where I am now and to see what we were like back then and how far we've come. Both my husband and my daughter and I have grown so much, and I finally feel like the weight's lifting off. We're so much more comfortable, settled, and confident now than when we were then, because we didn't even know what life was going to be like. My husband was literally in his first month at the new job. I had just finished teaching at the school for the year, and we were moving to a new place. I had no idea what I would be doing for the next year for a job or for a career. We, in a little piece of our mind, we were kind of thinking that we were regressing because we moved back in with my parents for a month, but that was the biggest blessing. We were able to get that quality time with my parents. We were able to save money. My parents, they were so generous. We were able to get meals and have family dinners, and they were able to just emotionally help us through that transition. And I'm just so thankful that we had those blessings in our life. And sometimes when you're going through so much transition, you forget to think about all the little ways that life is working out for you and all the little ways that other people in your life may be making things easier, even though you may not see how significant it is in the moment, but looking back at it, it's huge. And so there's just so many memories and so much that I am just so thankful for this date and time. And I wanted to get it out on video. Another really special part about tonight is that my new friend that I've made this year, who we took a course together on being an intuitive coach through, it was called the Gifted Coach Certification through Sonia Choquette. We had met through there and we hit it off, and she had given us a book. She had given us 5 books, but one of these books that I'm about to show you was for my daughter. And my daughter had been really fascinated about dragons within the last 2 months, which the book was perfect for that. And this is the book. It was The Truth About Dragons, and it's written by Julie Leung. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and illustrated by Hannah Cha. And it's just this beautiful story of a mom telling her child a bedtime story and weaving in just cultural folklore and family heritage with his 2 grandmothers. And it was just a beautiful story. And tonight was the first night that we read it to our daughter. We had gotten this book in the mail on Monday, but because of our schedules, my husband and I just weren't able to be in the same place to read the book with our daughter, and neither of us wanted to miss any of the illustrations or the storyline, so we had to wait till tonight to read it. And it was just really, it was a beautiful story, and I'm so glad we waited and we're able to do it all together. Um, and so I just, I just have so much, I'm just like overflowing with love tonight. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video. And I also wanted to end by saying, if you are somebody in a situation or a phase of life right now where it is so challenging just getting through each day, I send you so much love. I send you so much empathy and compassion, and I hope that you give yourself so much grace. I feel like that I think that a lot of people are so hard on themselves and that they don't give themselves enough grace, and to really reflect on what you have accomplished each day, even if it's just getting up, getting out of bed, showering, throwing clothes on, going to work. Like, those are massive accomplishments when you're in the thick of it. And then if you add more on top of that, if you're a parent, if you're providing meals for your children, getting them to school, getting them to where they need to be, emotionally being there for them, or your partner, or whoever, your friends, your parents, like, there is so much that goes on in a day and throughout our lives. And that's one of the reasons why I also did this YouTube channel, is because when you really reflect about what you do in a day, there is so much. And I think we all need to be proud of making it through each day, and not just making it, but and even if you don't feel like you're thriving, the fact that you keep going, because it builds our resilience, it builds our endurance, our perseverance, and you will get through it, even in the times where you don't even feel like you're going to get through the next hour. And so I just have so much love, have so much compassion, and I just wish everyone a healthy, happy, wonderful night, rest of your week, and rest of your year and life. And so thank you for sharing this time with me. I love you all, and I hope you all take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.